Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I'm your host Eric Smith, and today I'm talking about Tribesmen by Adam Cesare. Not sure if that's how you pronounce his name. I've decided anytime I review any of his books I'm just going to pronounce his name differently every time and hope that at some point I get it right. So this time I'm going with Cesare. Adam Cesare, Tribesmen, the Italian cannibal horror classic, banned in 28 countries. This is from Deadite, a Deadite press production, and this is just a loving tribute to the cannibal movies of the 70s and 80s, mainly Italian movies. And in the fashion of those movies, what you've got is a film crew, and it's a very small cast of characters here. We've got Tito, the director, Jacques, the screenwriter, Cynthia is an actor, Daria is the makeup woman, Umberto is another actor, and Denny is the cameraman. That's all we've got. And Tito is a very smart man, but he plays the huckster very well. And so he gets some money from a producer, says he wants to cash in on this cannibal movie craze. He takes this small band of people and they go to an isolated Caribbean island where they're going to do some guerrilla filmmaking and crank this out in about 3 days. But unfortunately for them, the island is cursed, and that leads to all sorts of bloody havoc. And there's your basic synopsis in a nutshell, as always. And as I said, this is really a loving homage to that cannibal genre, and I feel it's very well done. Adam Cesare is quickly becoming one of my favorite new authors. And this is a very short book. It's just over 100 pages, and yet he's able to really develop his characters and tell us a lot about them. They're not just cookie cutter characters that are there to be torn up and horrified and murdered and everything. As I said, Tito is a very smart man. He speaks 5 languages. He's made 40 or 50 movies, and excuse me. Excuse me. So he's made a bunch of movies. He's not some newbie, but he does know how to play a part to get what he wants. Jacques, the screenwriter, is our hero of the piece, one of our heroes, and just again a very interesting character. We get lots of nice background. Cynthia, the other hero, our female hero. They're all just really fascinating characters. For such a short book, to be able to get that development in there, I think is quite an achievement. And it's all well told. This character development doesn't slow the story down. The pace of the book is very nice. And eventually we get to the murder and mayhem, and it just splatters across the page, figuratively speaking. And just once it starts, it just barrels to the end. So a lot of good stuff going on there. It's just really, if you're a fan of the cannibal movies of the 70s and 80s, I think this is something that is going to resonate. I haven't seen all of these different movies. There's, Cannibal Holocaust and Cannibal Pharaoh, or however you say it, and many others I can't even think of the titles of. There's a lot of them I have not seen, simply because of time constraints. There's so much I want to see and read and do, and just not enough time to do it all, and some things fall by the wayside. But from what I have seen, what I do know, this is really fits in quite well to that genre. And that's something that Adam Cesare does quite well, in my opinion. The books of his that I have read, to me, all feel like tributes to the subgenres of horror that he loves, that a lot of horror fans really enjoy. People can pick and choose the subgenres of horror they like. I'm sort of a buffet kind of guy. I like to have it all out there. So while something like Video Night was a tribute to B movies, The Summer Job a tribute to those kind of 70s made-for-TV or European satanic cult kind of movies, Exponential was a creature feature, in my opinion. and Tribesmen is where it all began. I believe this is his first novel, and he really did a good job here. It does have the feeling of a first novel. You know, he hasn't quite gotten his writing chops yet. Not that it's bad writing, it's good writing, but you can see, if you read his books in order, you can see a progression as he hones his craft. And he's quickly becoming one of my favorite new authors, even if I don't know how to pronounce his name properly. I love this cover, of course, evocative of the movie posters from the 70s. So those, I get a lot of glare there, so I got to tilt this, but just a fantastic cover. A great story. It's a lot of, I mean, fun is always a tough word to use when talking about horror, especially this kind of really balls to the wall, over the top exploitative horror, which is what those movies were. And so, but I mean, it's fun. It's a fun read. The characters are so interesting, and the dynamics, and then what goes on once they get to the island, and the the poo hits the fan. Pardon my language. Excuse me. So anyway, obviously, I really enjoyed Tribesmen. I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of the Cannibal movies, and then you really need to read this, get a nice fix. You know, I don't know if the Cannibal movies are making a comeback. You have Eli Roth's Green Inferno, which may or may not ever be released. I don't know. But this came first. Adam Cesare on the cutting edge of the resurgence. But if you're a fan of that type of movie, you've got to read this book. If you want to get a glimpse at the early work of an up-and-coming author, pick this up and read it. If you just want to read a really great story, horror story with lots of violence and gore, pick this up and read it. So my rating for this, and I realize I made a mistake here in what I drew, because my rating is, wow, that doesn't come out very well, 4.5 out of 5 NC-17 ratings. I think, because, and this actually takes place in the 80s, I think it probably should have been X. It should have been an X rating, because NC-17 didn't exist back then, but I wasn't thinking clearly, and so I went with NC-17. 4.5 out of 5. It's a wonderful book. It's a wonderful cover. It's a lot of just good old-fashioned fun, the kind of thing you should be reading at midnight with some popcorn by your side. It's a very quick read. Pick it up. As always, I'll have a link for the book in the description below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments will be open to spoilers. Just please be polite, post a spoiler warning. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I think that's it for this episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I'm Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.